Hi, my name is George Dagnino. I'm the editor of the Peter Dack Portfolio Strategy and Management. Wall Street doesn't seem to care that credit risk is soaring. It's really rising rapidly, and there are some very strong implications. And this is what I really would like to review with you and see what's going on. For those of you who do not know me, my expertise comes from managing billions of dollars in interest rates and currency derivative portfolio that we're used to hedge interest rates exposures and currency exposures. And I'm using a lot of this information and the experience I had in analyzing the market. So my approach is a macro approach. My basic way of looking at the markets is to understand in which phase of the business cycle we are in. For those who are subscribers and know what I write about, for many months, I'm saying that we are in phase 4. Phase 4 is the time when all the excesses generated in phase 1, 2, and 3 are corrected. Mainly, interest rates are declining, inflation is declining, earnings are declining, stock markets are declining, and credit risk is rising. In this phase also, business finds out that they have too many inventories on their books, they're losing money because of it, and trying to cut production to improve profitability. And of course, to cut production, they have to cut costs, they have to cut borrowing, and this is why there is this correction phase. Now, let's see what is the impact on the credit markets and credit risk. This graph represents the yield curve. This is the yield curve steepening. This is flattening. When it goes below this line, it's inverted, meaning that the 2-year Treasury bond yields are above the 10-year Treasury bond yields. Then it steepens again, and then it flattens, and then here inverts. Then it steepens, and then flattens, inverts, and here steepens and flattens and inverted again. Now, people don't care very much about, especially the Fed. Oh, well, the fact that the yield curve inverse is not important. It is. It is important because every time you see the yield curve inverted, you see a recession coming right after, usually after 12 months. After 12 months, and the same thing here is inverted 2021, 22, and there is a recession coming. There is no doubt about it. But the yield curve inverting means something else, which is very crucial. This is why this time is not different. Let me show you why. This graph is the result of a survey made by the Federal Reserve in Washington. And what it shows the percentage of banks tightening lending standards. Now, what is important about this curve is that when this line rises, and especially when it rises above this level, and it reaches these levels here, what you see is a recession. In other words, banks' lending standards are rising. Why? Because the banks see credit risk. And therefore, they're very cautious, for instance, right now, in lending to real estate investors and lending to consumers using credit cards. So banks right now are seeing danger. And this level has always been associated with tight credit risk, tight money, and recessions. So does that matter? Well, let's see. But the implication of tightening lending standards, which was anticipated by the inversion of the yield curve, is also reflected in bank deposits. Bank deposits are a very important thing because bank deposits are the juice that the banks use to create money. If bank deposits are shrinking, that means that they decided not to lend, because that's how bank deposits are created, if banks lend money. So what you see right now, there was a big jump in bank deposits, of course, because of the huge government programs. But now bank deposits have declined. This is an never seen episode. In fact, you can go back to 1975, at least to 1975, and you have never seen decline in deposit. What does that mean? So now you have different aspects, right? You have the inversion of the yield curve. One, you have the inversion of the yield curve means that credit risk is rising, and in fact, that's proven that the banks' lending standards have been rising. Is that something you don't believe? Well, you should better believe it, because now what you see is that deposits are shrinking. In other words, liquidity is declining quite rapidly in the system. Now, what is the impact on the stock market? Let's see. Well, this is what really where the tire hits the road, I guess. This is the yield curve, steepening and flattening and inverting, steepening, flattening, inverting, steepening, flattening, and inverting. How does that relate to the stock market? Well, when the yield curve is here, it takes roughly a year and a half before from this bottom to the bottom of the bear market, from this bottom to the bottom of the next bear market, from this bottom to the bottom of the bear market. So even if the inversion of the yield curve has reached its maximum level, even if it starts steepening from this point on, it will take at least a year to reach the bottom of the bear market that we are in. So this, which represent this level of the yield curve, which represent high elevated credit risk, which is associated with banks' lending standards and declining bank deposits, means that things are really tough out there. And what you see here on the stock market, we are just halfway through. We need another year before credit conditions become such that liquidity is created by the banking system, and therefore the next bull market goes underway. Until that time, I think we need a lot of patience. Okay, I hope you appreciate this, what I'm being said, but I have something else to tell you. I published the Peter Dack Portfolio Strategy Management. By the way, you can have a free subscription if you go to this website. I also wrote this book, which was commissioned by McGraw-Hill Education. And by the way, I understand it's a good book from the reviews, and has been translated and is available in Asia in many languages right now. I also wrote two other books. This one, Easy Ways to Beat the Market with ETFs and Investing Wisely. It's easier than you think. You can also follow me on Twitter, where I update these charts and then many other charts and data, and I give some thoughts on what the markets are doing. Well, I really appreciate it that you follow this video, and until the next time, so long.